All right, Bulls Nation. Well, the Bulls have gotten out to a hot start to begin the season, and there's a lot of attention on the play of Josh Giddey, freshly signed to a new contract, Trey Jones starting in place of Kobe White and his calf strain that he is trying to nurse back to health. Under the radar, I think, has been the performance of Nikola Vucevic through this first handful of games, because a lot of people saw what he did in the preseason, or didn't do in the preseason, after a busy summer playing for his international team, and wondering if we were about to see a fall off of Vooch, the big man. And you look at his numbers through this first handful of games, Big Dave.
Yes, sir. That's me.
Vooch is perhaps one of the biggest reasons the Bulls are off to this hot start.
You know what's wild is how right you are when you say it's gone under the radar, and this dude is averaging like 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 assists. And we're like,
no biggie.
Under the radar kind of thing. And it's true, but it's very, very true. Like, it hasn't been discussed enough, just because I don't know if it's because people are just really excited at the 3-0, as we all should be for sure, and hopefully 4-0 after this airs. But I think it's also because maybe people just expect it from a guy like Nikola Vucevic. It's what he's kind of done. You got used to it last year.
Right.
For sure. Like, he was outstanding.
18.5 and 10 last year.
Yeah, man, with the 40% from three that he was hitting. And we saw in game 1 when he had, I believe, 28 and 14, where his three-point shots, the first 3 he hit, just cash money. Wasn't Army, better get a Navy. Like, he has just been outstanding for the Chicago Bulls, and he sets the tone. And he's what you want in a veteran that is on a young team right now, that is still trying to kind of find their way, find their rhythm and kind of find their groove. When you have that stabilizing force in a guy like Vooch, who you can say, oh, man, we need a bucket. Here's the basketball. Do something with it, whether it's pass it to someone or whether it's you go and you put someone in the post and you put it up. However you get it, like, knowing you have that on your team and you can depend on it, is very valuable, especially for this young team. And I know Billy Donovan understands that too.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, like, you look at the preseason where he scored 27 points. I was joking with this about him. 27 points in 4 games, and then he comes out and has 28 in the opening game and 14 rebounds. I don't think he loved that one. But he's just been so productive. And I wasn't really concerned about it, but there was this element of, like, he shot the ball so well last year, over 40%, career high in three-point shooting. And he's been so up and down. Would he be able to sustain that? And if not, what does that mean for the rest of what are the downstream effects of that for the rest of the offense? And not only has he exceeded that, I mean, he's shooting 71% now through 3 games. He's 6 of 11 on threes. Not the like most volume ever, but you see the way that it impacts the game. He's also been really good defensively. He had a key steal against the Hawks late. He had the offensive rebound tip in that really sealed the game for the Bulls against the Hawks. And then 9 assists in that game too, where he's just like making the right plays. The ball is flowing and he's keeping it moving side to side, and he's able to really help juice the rest of the offense for these other guys. There's not a lot of like one-on-one creation, high level isolation guys on this team. And so they need to rely on moving the ball side to side, getting into actions quickly, getting downhill, spacing. And he just provides all that. I think there's this element of, or a segment of fans who want the Bulls to have like this elite rim protector, rim rolling center, because that's kind of like typical of a high-level defense.
Sure.
And for sure, I think that would help. But at the same point, you look at what the Bulls do offensively and how he's able to specifically help them through his three-point shooting, decision-making, and passing, ability to attack closeouts, trail threes, walk into them. Like, that just opens up the floor for everybody else. And I think it's really helped Trey Jones. I think it's really helped Josh Giddey. When they don't have Kobe White out there, I think he really helps open things up and allows them to have an efficient offense.
Yeah, that's a great point also. Like, with Kobe not being out there and with Zach Collins not being out there, like, that backup isn't there for him either. That change of pace guy isn't for him either. But he's still providing, you know what I'm saying, you with valuable stuff. And you mentioned the defense. Like, when you're playing like he is on the offensive side, again, you don't even think about the defense. But even if you look at it, you just want him to be a guy that deters.
You're right.
You know, and says, I'm tall. I'm going to make this a little difficult for you. That's what you've seen from him, is just make it a little difficult for guys when they're coming inside trying to score. Not going to block every shot. You know, you're not going to be doing rotations around there, nothing like that. But can you be a presence out there? And he's definitely being a presence on the defensive end, and we already talked about what he's doing on the offensive end.
And look, you can't sugarcoat the fact that the Bulls are through these games dead last in the NBA in opponents' points in the paint allowed. Nearly 65 paint points to their opponent every night. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And Vooch gets a lot of fingers pointed at him for that. And as your team starting center and quote-unquote rim protector, it's understandable to me to a point that all of those fingers of blame get pointed in Vooch's direction that way. But we know that NBA defense is a collective effort and a team effort, especially, and several Bulls players have been speaking on it publicly since training camp, when it like, you don't have any defensive ace kind of players on your team. A lot has been said about Isaac Okoro's arrival in that trade, but one man's not going to fix your team's defense.
True.
So we all know what those limitations for Vooch are. It's just interesting. And maybe I think the other thing, Dave, is that certain, pockets of Bulls fans see Vooch as this symbol of like the last vestiges of the team that broke and didn't work. Zach's gone. DeMar's gone. Caruso's gone. Lonzo's gone. Vooch is still here, and a lot of Bulls fans are like, why is he still here? Like, yes, he's playing on the final year of that 3-year contract extension he got to stick around when AK wanted to keep that core together. But like, just because his timeline does not fit the new timeline of this much younger roster that they have flipped over the last year and a half, doesn't mean that he can't help them win and also, help teach his younger Bulls teammates a thing or two along the way.
Dude, that is brilliantly said. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think the reason why that's different, because I agree, and I think that's a valid point. The reason it's different to me is he helps those young guys get better in ways that, like, with all due respect to Zach and DeMar, those guys have a very particular play style where the ball sticks with them a little bit. They're playing a little bit more slowly, more methodically. That is completely the antithesis of how the Bulls are trying to play right now. Vooch fits into how they're trying to play. And in fact, it's maximizing Vooch's skills and his ability to produce as well. And so I think this is the best version of Vooch that we've seen, but I also think it's helping some of those young players develop in a way that those other guys, like Caruso, I think is probably an exception. Lonzo, probably an exception, because those guys are so low usage. They're good defensively. They space the floor. But just compared to Zach and DeMar, again, no disrespect to them, but I don't think they made the young players better in the way that Vooch is doing that now.
Yeah, let me music analogy this thing right now, because Matt
Do
just
it.
put that in my head.
Please do.
So it's like with the old band that they had. You had your singers, who were in front of the stage doing their thing. You had your drummer, you had your background. And Vooch, who is multi-talented, can do anything, but they're like, we need you on bass. And Vooch is like, I don't just play the bass. And he struggled learning, and being okay with that role of just playing the bass. And then he got more comfortable, he was, chopping out some tasty licks, on the stage and everything like that. And then when the band disbanded, he was still there though.
Yeah.
He's still there like, nah, bro, and my bass playing got a little bit more nasty right now. And they built a new band around him.
Yeah.
And the younger guys who remember that old band and what he did were like, dude, that bass player that was in the band is pretty dope. I would love to play with him right now. He's going to set us up, and we're going to take that bass line for a walk, and we're going to make some awesome music. That is what's happening right now. So now you got him getting his recognition for what he did in the past with that bass, also learning some new licks as far as what he's doing right now, and just for a whole new generation to enjoy. And that is an awesome thing for a guy like Vooch.
It'll be interesting to see, if this production from Vooch sustains the more we get into this season, and B, if other bands come calling to be like, hey, you're the missing piece of this pretty cool band we got cooking right now.
Yeah.
Because, we talked to Vooch trade rumors last season. It didn't materialize.
Yeah.
If he plays like this for the first 2-3 months of the season and that trade deadline is looking around the bend again, do the Bulls see, hey, Vooch is going to help us go to the playoffs?
Yeah.
Or that's a pretty good offer for our expiring contract vet.
Not bad.
That's a mini pod for another day.
Hey, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed to CHGO Sports YouTube channel to catch all of our mini pods and all of our full-length episodes 5 days a week, post-game after every game night. Peace.